Hello and welcome back to RageGamingVideos, and welcome to Elden Ring Things You Didn't Know, episode 40. We have made 40, and on number 40 we are talking DLC because the Shadow of the Erdtree has been announced. I've made not one but two videos all about different speculation and stuff that's going on with the community and my own thoughts. It's been really fun, and I wanted to make an episode on things you didn't know all about that kind of topic. So today we're talking DLC, today we're talking Shadow of the Erdtree and little details that are in game right now, talismans, items, references. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm very excited to do so. So let's begin today's episode. So for our first little detail to do with this DLC focused episode, I'm here in the prayer room of Miquella, as it turns out, of course in the haligtree. It was Quayleg on Twitter who talked about how this prayer room actually has some specific vases that have something inside of them. Something now very familiar to those of us that have been staring at that damn picture a little bit too long. These appear to be the same plants or reeds that are from that very same image. Now I imagine if we were to go to the Altus Plateau, we would find basically the same thing. But the truth is, while it is similar, it doesn't actually appear to be those same reeds at all. It's this yellowy or green kind of grass and bushes of that nature around it. It is similar, and maybe, you know, what we're looking at in that super high res, really nice image is maybe what these strands of grass are actually meant to be, but it could be somewhere entirely different just in the DLC. If nothing else, these reeds appear to be from the same place that we're looking at in that image with the DLC, which further makes me think that, yeah, that is Miquella riding Torrent. There's a really interesting and very small little spot there from Quayleg, so I wanted to highlight that in the series. I recommend Quayleg for Twitter though, for general Elden Ring stuff. They're always very interesting. Next, following the speculation to do with, of course, the DLC and all the stuff that we sort of saw in that, I made my two videos about two main theories. One about Marika riding Torrent, one about Miquella riding Torrent, and what those two things could possibly mean for DLC. But the fact is, we have things inside of the game that we could use to refer to help with that speculation. And it was Slofsky II, who is further an incredible creator on Twitter. Again, I really recommend this account to you, who took the files of these important things and put them together in an image set. So here we have Torrent, a nice little look at Torrent from different angles, which is nice. And really importantly, the whistle. If we look at this whistle as if it is indeed Miquella's mount, it does call into question a few things. So we're looking at a delicate gold work ring. It can be used as a finger whistle. And then we only have kind of mechanical information there, sadly. So a gold work ring. It got me thinking, this is quite similar looking to a very important resource that Miquella uses to help Malenia and others. Unalloyed gold. Part of the Millicent storyline is that unalloyed gold needle that's used to suppress the rot that's infesting Millicent. And I'm sure in much the same way, that is basically the route that Miquella took to slow down or stop that rot with his sister. But unalloyed gold is used for a lot of different things generally to do with Miquella. And so I could easily see this gold work ring actually being made from unalloyed gold, which is a really cool idea. Further back to Slofsky's awesome images, we do have some looks at different things that could be associated with Miquella and that faction, with the torch and of course Saint Trina in adult form. We know that Saint Trina is very, very likely to have actually been Miquella traveling before the events of the game. But it's the armor of the knights that follow Miquella that's quite interesting, because when you take a look at them, you can see that they each have a helmet that has a sort of braided ring around their head, around the helmet. A big part of the speculation of Miquella, and is that Miquella in that image, is the braids. Miquella, as we see him being dragged away by Mohg, has that braided hair, and it looks very, very similar to the rider in the Shadow of the Erdtree image. Miquella obviously has a braided theme as part of his character, but there are quite a few characters in Elden Ring as we know it today that do wear like golden braids. Marika herself has them at times in certain images, but perhaps he learned that braiding from his mother, which would make complete sense. Overall, it seems Slofsky wants us to use these resources to refer to and speculate with. I think it's a fantastic thing they're doing. And in general, the content on that Twitter account, like I say when I highlight it, so good, and there's more that I intentionally don't show, so please go check them out. Next, a highlight then of that image of the Shadow of Erdtree, because when you take a really close look at the big Erdtree in the background, it's quite an interesting situation there. We have the Erdtree as we thought, but it's not as golden glowing as it normally would. Upon further inspection, it was realized that it looks like it's actually 2 trees, not one at all. One being the Erdtree, the sort of straight tree that's being pulled to the side by another tree, which people believe, including myself, that's the haligtree. The haligtree is wrapping around the Erdtree and almost pulling it down. That golden sap that seeps out, that's also very interesting because that golden sap is referred to on a talisman we can look at in game. The Blessed Dew Talisman depicts a drop of the Erdtree sap, a blessed boon. And you can see in that image, it's basically the hands grasping up. We've got a sort of chalice to collect the dew, and you would assume they would drink it. This gradually restores health when you equip it, so you would imagine the dew is a very strong healing property if you were to ingest it or use it in some way. The description says that it was once thought that the blessed sap of the Erdtree would drip from its boughs forever, but that age of plenty swiftly came to a close, and with time, the Erdtree became more of a simple, pretty useless object of faith, that golden idol, but it doesn't actually do or serve a function anymore, like when it had that sap that serves some sort of healing property. Now, Miquella is obviously associated with abundance. That is his great rune. And when we take a look at those trees again and we look at the Erdtree there, it is dripping that golden sap, that healing property. So wherever this image is, whenever this image is, it appears to be in a time where the Erdtree is still filled with that sap that's able to be collected. Perhaps the haligtree is wrapping around it and stealing that essence for itself to create a new one. There's a lot of different theories and ways you could go with that, but it very much is interesting that it's 2 trees and what's going on there, and how it's in that specific brief period that the blessed sap of the Erdtree is still there. It certainly makes me think that this is all a dream, and Miquella is certainly associated with dreams. Next, I want to highlight a specific detail. It's to do with this sword that we've talked about a couple of times in the series now, very recently actually. Golden Epitaph. Very shortly, this is a sword that is likely made by or for Miquella to commemorate the death of Godwyn, his brother. Infused with humble prayer of a young boy, "Oh brother, Lord brother, please die a true death." He wanted his brother Godwyn to actually die, but as we know, that body is soulless, but it lives on. Now, this is a very interesting item because it has a special Ash of War that has its own unique icon. As you can see, it is a tree growing out, and we believe that is the haligtree, and so it was indeed Miquella, that boy that is being referred to. Now, I said in that episode, I believe that's the only way you can see that symbol, this weapon, this Ash of War. There isn't any other version of that, but that's not necessarily true. Sekiro Doobie, another great content creator, both on YouTube and Twitter, who talks about lots of stuff to do with Elden Ring, again, I recommend them. They posted about this, a demi-human casting a spell, which appears to be a haligtree sigil. That looks like a healthy, much bigger version of the tree compared to the one that we see in the Ash of War, but it's undoubtedly very similar, very familiar. And you know, when you think about these beastmen, it's very reasonable to think that they would fit in with Miquella's faction. You know, that whole haligtree concept being a safe haven, a safe ground for those that probably don't really fit in normal society. Could be that they ended up worshipping that or joining that faction or crossing over and going there, learning something like that magic for some reason not being there anymore. Maybe Miquella encountered them as his journeys as Saint Trina and taught them something, who knows? But it is very interesting that we do see a similar symbol, quite unique, similar to the haligtree symbol. What do you think? Do you think that is the haligtree symbol or something else? What could be the reasoning behind that? Last but not least, a talk about Miquella as the child before all this horrible transformation. We see a few of these statues around the world. There's one in the Altar Patona, a really specific place, and the speculation that that could be like the entry point to the DLC, if not the cocoon of Miquella himself. This is Melania grasping and holding and hugging onto Miquella, the small child form. Now, what's really important about this form of Miquella is that it's a healthy boy, it's a healthy child. Honestly, there's nothing necessarily wrong with this other than, as we know in the lore, Miquella has an extended period of being a child. Melania and Miquella are twins. You'd assume that means they were born at the same time, and so they've grown at the same time, but not at the same rate. Let's take a look at Mohg stealing away the Miquella form from the sort of womb cocoon in the middle of the haligtree. He looks really decrepit and withered and basically like a slug human thing, kinda, if you know what I mean. Something ain't right there. It's obviously not good what's happening to Miquella, and it was Quelag that actually talked about this, saying, why is this the case? Why is he so extremely thin? And it was Quelag that questioned maybe it's because of the bloodletting, you know, that using Miquella's blood to feed the tree to make it grow for the possible new haligtree and new sort of Erdtree thing. Maybe there was a serious cost to all of that bloodletting. And I like the theory, but I also wonder maybe that's not exactly the case. If we go to the base of the haligtree, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And there's a really absolutely incredible artistic thing here, which is there he is. It's Miquella in almost a godly wooden form as the roots have taken form and almost create a new version of Miquella. You would imagine then that Miquella would be inside of this kind of tree or root-based womb and was evolving, like, say, in a cocoon from caterpillar to butterfly. Yes, butterfly is a very important aspect of Elden Ring and its lore. There are 3 very important butterflies: the smouldering butterfly, the Aeonian butterfly, and the nascent butterfly. It would appear that this represents Saint Trina / Miquella. You know, we have Malenia here, and we have Melina, potentially the other child, which is another theory. But butterflies are obviously a very important expression of these characters, and butterflies literally represents Malenia when she transforms into the rock goddess. She has a pair of wings made from them. It's obviously very important. So like a caterpillar transforming into his own butterfly, that process was interrupted. Mohg stole away Miquella in his kind of mid-transformed form. Maybe it's nothing to do with the bloodletting, but the process that was interrupted. Either way, Mohg tried to make a new cocoon to do the sort of similar thing using his blood instead, and it hasn't exactly gone to plan, obviously. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Why was Miquella so sluggy and weird and so weak, withered away when Mohg was stealing him? But there you have it. That is today's episode of Things You Didn't Know. And that was episode 40. So I hope this was a fun DLC focused Things You Didn't Know episode. Let me know your thoughts on the different stuff. And if you have anything else you'd like to talk about in regards to the DLC that we could maybe include in the next episode, that would be awesome. Otherwise, as always, if there are any things that you think most people don't know or interesting little details, then let me know in the comments and I'll include it in the series and give you a shout out if possible. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.